Great. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here today. It's May 1st, hard to believe, but it is great to be talking about mental health and sharing some resources that are available. I'm going to share my screen and start a presentation, and then I'll introduce a little bit about myself. Oops, sorry, we're gonna try that one more time. I want to make sure you hear the sound of a video that I'm going to play, a short video that we've created to do some myth busting on mental health. So we're going to start this presentation. I love how all those get to jump up right in where you need to be, right? When you're trying to get to your screen. Here we go. All right, slideshow from the beginning. Great, so farm stress, barriers, and resources. I'm Karen Endress, and I'm the Farmer Wellness Program Coordinator at the Wisconsin Farm Center, which is at the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. As you can see from that picture, I'm very involved with my family in the dairy industry. I'm a dairy farm owner. My husband farms with his two brothers and their families. I'm a mom of three daughters who are active in the industry, and I'm a track and field coach working with our youth in Wanakee. Myths and facts. I've been in this position for about 3 years, and really interesting to me as I've gone through some time here to look at what are the myths and facts are out there. So I want to share this short video that will be available on social media for you to share to really help people understand myths and facts of farm mental health. So just as that short video shared straight from the farmers, we heard in some research that was done, some farmer focus groups back in 2020, that there are some major stressors. And all of you know, being in agriculture, none of these are going to be a surprise to you. With time pressure being that number one stressor, right? How do we get it all done in the day? I hear this one at home very often when my husband comes home or he's not home and I'm calling. It's our famous line, the text message ETA, wanting to know what's that estimated time of arrival for our different family activities. So it's just that pressure, not only to get stuff done on the farm, but to be there for the family and family activities. Management of the farm, right? Farming's just become a lot more difficult, a lot more intense as from a management perspective. As our farm operations have changed, many have grown and modernized, and just that whole management of the farm, maybe things that we weren't prepared to do or didn't develop that skill set along the way. Of course, we all know this one, and we hear this one often, is that unpredictable income, right? Those markets of our inputs and of the products that we're making. Isolation. I think as farmers, we've always been isolated in rural communities, but have you noticed how it's become much more isolated as we have fewer and fewer farms in every township, in every county? Organizations such as Farm Bureau are so key and important to helping with that and helping break down the isolation and helping build those communities. Farm succession and interpersonal conflicts. I can relate to this one firsthand as we had took over the farm from my husband's parents and now trying to look at how to transition the farm to the next generation. It's not easy and it's hard and a lot of difficult conversations. Others, financial management, pressure to expand and improve, just that daily unpredictability. And I love the last one, right? Life. Yep, we all know life in today's modern society is a lot different than it was. My husband loves to tell the story to our kids of his farm summer vacation was going to his cousin's farm about 5 miles away and spending a week with them, and then the cousins coming back his way. My kids don't think that sounds like much of a vacation. So life has just become different. That graphic showed some of this, but the barriers to help. And this came from our friends at American Farm Bureau who are on the call today. American Farm Bureau does some of the best research out there and the best surveys. So we can better understand what are those barriers that farmers are finding for help. And we look at this, and we call them the 4 A's: affordability, accessibility, awareness. How do we even know what we're feeling is something to do with our mental health or our brain health, and acceptability. So when we looked and developed programs here at the Wisconsin Farm Center, we use this information to make sure our programs were addressing those barriers. So what can we do at the Wisconsin Farm Center to help Wisconsin farmers and their families? We developed a farmer wellness program. We've been offering farm vouchers way back since 2005 through the Seeds of Hope grant. And so we've had some time to work on this and time to understand what was going on. So we really have 4 key components in our farmer wellness program. And you see those on the screen in those bubbles. And the 24/7 Farmer Wellness Helpline, that's available to farmers 24/7, just like it says. If you call that line, you're connected to an experienced stress counselor who's experienced in agriculture. And that's really important to our farmers. We also have telecounseling. In this photo, you'll see Jess Beauchamp, our telecounseling person that we work with. We have set appointments each month. We also have access to additional appointments. Our counseling voucher program, where we'll issue vouchers to a network of providers around the state that can do in-person and telehealth. But again, the most important part of that program is these are with counselors who either grew up on a farm, have farming in their family, grew up in rural communities, or have an interest and have taken extra education to understand farm culture. And then we have our online support groups that meet twice a month in the non-growing season. And in the growing season, which we're just entering right now, go back to once a month. But these have experienced peer leaders, farmers in our communities. And this program has been very successful. Let's take a look at our counseling vouchers. We work to connect you with a counselor that fits your needs. Someone calls me, I can have a short conversation. Is it marriage counseling? Is it anxiety? Is it substance use? We have specialists in life transition. That's a big one. When you're looking at transitioning to a different type of business in agriculture, maybe you're going from a dairy farmer to a heifer grower, or you're going from a dairy farmer and you're going to raise beef. That all comes with a lot of challenges, maybe some anxiety, might lead to depression if you don't take care of that anxiety, sometimes substance use. Like I said, maybe it's individual, marriage, family counseling. And these appointments can be in person or by telehealth. As you can see, over the last fiscal years, we've gotten steady and now we're growing. In our last fiscal year, which goes July 1 to June 30th, 217 vouchers were redeemed last year. Well, I'm excited to share that we're going to knock that off the charts. We're not even going to fit on this graph in our current fiscal year that'll end at the end of June. My goal and my guess is we're going to be 400 one-hour appointments are going to be covered for Wisconsin farmers and their families in our current fiscal year. That telecounseling, just like that image depicts, it's a farmer on the phone, or you can do on a Zoom or other virtual platform to talk to a counselor. It can be quicker, which is nice. Most appointments under our counseling voucher or in our telecounseling program, I'm getting farmers in to speak with a licensed social worker in 7 to 10 days, sometimes as quick as 5. These are pre-scheduled and they're available every month. I talked a little bit about those online support groups. Let's look at the numbers. Connecting farmers across the state, because really our original support groups were the coffee shops across our small communities. They were our bowling alleys. They were our get-togethers. They still can be, right? Our groups like Farm Bureau that meet. A support group is nothing more than that community, someone to share, to talk to, maybe to ask a business question to. Maybe it's to ask a question about, hey, I haven't been feeling like myself. Those are really important connections. And our groups have been growing, as you can see by that chart. They talk about all different kinds of things: business challenges and opportunities, employee management, communications, family relations, grief, all sorts of things. There's trained peer leaders on the call, as well as a licensed clinical social worker. I also do a podcast. I just put out the 27th episode today, talking about the myths and the facts. We have nearly 2,800 downloads to date. And some of our popular episodes have been how farm life helped a teen adapt after a tragedy, using positive mindset and gratitude to handle our daily farm stress, and this great topic of breaking the stigma on mental health. So as we've talked about the increasing program usage at the Wisconsin Farm Center, our counseling voucher redemptions, we thought 35% was pretty good. Think about what we're going to see this year as I pass 400 vouchers redeemed. And so telecounseling growing 25%, online support groups going 40% versus the prior year. Funding, it all because our governor and our legislature has supported this program, giving $100,000 per year in our state's biennial budget. Having that consistent funding, as well as money we've received in federal grants, has really helped our program become more of a common household name. And so we want to continue, like through presentations like this, sharing about our program, getting people aware that this resource is available. So I just want to say thank you for having me today, letting me share about our farmer wellness program. Know that Wisconsin Farm Center is there with our farmer wellness program. It's also there with programs such as transition succession planning, our mediation program, our herd-based diagnostics program for dairy farmers out there. And so we're here to help our financial consulting. So next time you think of wanting help, looking for another resource, looking for a neutral third party to help you and your farm family, think about the Wisconsin Farm Center, because our services are free and confidential. So there's our contact information. We have short videos on our website. So I really appreciate, Wendy, you inviting me here today for this Lunch and Learn. And I can't wait now to learn from Farm Rescue and also from the American Farm Bureau.
Thanks so much, Karen. I do have a quick question for you. And if anyone else has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. I'm sure Karen or any of our speakers today would be happy to answer those. Karen, can you talk a little bit about the process? So let's say someone calls the farm center. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? I know we have a lot of rural insurance agents on the call today and people who work in agriculture service, so veterinarians, loan officers, and things like that. Maybe they have a customer or a client who they're like, ooh, they might need a little help or maybe someone to talk to. Can you talk to a little bit about, encouraging them to give the farm center number or how they could approach that conversation?
Absolutely. So just giving them the Wisconsin Farm Center number or a link to our website. Like I said, we have some short videos, 3 to 4 minutes long, that they can just take a look. One of the things that we've been working really hard is to make sure the farmers and people, such as all of you guys, our ag service providers on the phone call, understand that we're people, we're interested in agriculture and the wellness of our farm families in Wisconsin. And so it's as easy as giving them a phone number, giving them an email address, right? Sometimes people feel a little more comfortable just dropping me an email. I had both of those scenarios yesterday. I got an email from a Wisconsin farmer saying, "Hey, it's taken me a lot to do this, but I'm aware of your resource. I think my husband and I really need to talk to somebody. What do we do?" I started just chatting, email back and forth, and sharing information about our programs. I gave her some counselors to look at. And now she came back and set up, she's called a counselor, and I've issued counseling vouchers, and it's all taken care of. So I've not only found some counseling options for her in a day's time, I set her up with vouchers to pay for the appointment. And that works too if they give me a call. I know it's hard, but that's why I really like to share with people. I'm married to a farmer. I understand. I'm in agriculture. I get it. It's not easy to talk about. I'm willing to share a little bit about myself too and talk about, when I've had trouble with our farm transition or just being married to a dairy farmer. Sometimes I get the dairy farmer and they'll be like, "Well, my wife doesn't understand why I don't come home." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm that person. I'm her too. Like, don't understand it as well." And so it's really important that you talk to someone and maybe gain a different perspective on why they want you to be there and why it's important that you're part of your family's life and daily activities as well as the farm. And so I think just if you can get them to give them our phone number, our email address, our website, and encourage them to take that step, that there is going to be a friendly voice. You're not going to get an automated system. You are going to get a person.
Great. Thank you so much. And if you are looking for the Farm Center number, their website, I will share that with everyone at the end of this call. We do have some additional things available here at Wisconsin Farm Bureau too. We have these magnets that have the 988 suicide prevention hotline and also the 24/7 farmer wellness line at the farm center that are free. And I'm happy to send to you if you are interested in distributing those to anyone. But um, like Karen said, it's free, it's confidential. So if you do think that someone might need some assistance, whether it is mental health or, like Karen said, the other services that the Farm Center provides, that is a great resource for Wisconsin farmers and their families. So thank you, Karen, for sharing that. We're going to transition now to Terry Johnson, who's going to share a new resource to Wisconsin, and that is Farm Rescue.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much, Wendy, and certainly to Karen for her sharing what they've got going on there with the Department of Agriculture. I was privileged enough to meet with her and her team earlier this week and learned that we had a lot of things in common and a lot of people in common. And so that is awesome. So I'm Terry Johnston. I'm with Farm Rescue. I live just over across the river in Iowa. I'm an Iowa farm kid and a proud third generation Farm Bureau member. So go Farm Bureau. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about Farm Rescue. So Farm Rescue is a nonprofit organization. We're completely funded by individual and corporate sponsors and donors. We're based out of North Dakota, started back in 2005, and have since spread into 8 states, with Wisconsin being our 9th state. And we will be starting services in Wisconsin as of July 1st. So what Farm Rescue does, we kind of dovetail with some of the other services that Karen and her folks provide, in that we can actually do the work for the farm family while they're enduring a crisis. Maybe it is a mental health crisis or a physical health crisis. It might be a natural disaster, a flood or fire, tornado. So what we do is actually physically come in and help them get the work done while they're trying to recover from some type of a personal tragedy or crisis. And so what that looks like is we can help with planting, we can help with harvest, we can help with making hay, hauling hay, feeding livestock. And so we have the equipment and the volunteers to help do that. And so we like to say we're based on the neighbor helping neighbor premise. As Karen mentioned, isolation is becoming greater. Farms are getting larger. People are getting busier. And so we're there to help supplement those neighbors and communities to help a family get through a crisis. We're, of course, thrilled to know about services like Karen's teammates and so forth provide, because that gives us the ability to refer them to those folks. We are certainly not mental health coaches or experts, but clearly when our volunteers show up to help a family, there is always a lot of stress. There's a lot of hurting. There's a lot of emotions and involved. And so we're so pleased to be able to recommend, probably we should have some of those cards for our volunteers to carry in their vehicles to give the farm families when they recognize an opportunity for a need like that. And so we currently serve, as I mentioned, in 8 states, coming into Wisconsin as our 9th state, and looking forward to offering services even as early as this summer. If there's a family that maybe needs some help with some haying or choring with livestock, that sort of thing, and then certainly to get cranked up and ready for harvest. So also, I will attest to the fact that farm families are private and proud, and often reluctant to ask for help. So what I would challenge all of you is to, when you see a family that's hurting, refer them to us or to Karen's group, whoever, because they won't oftentimes reach out for help. Our operations folks and volunteers often say that most of the cases that we get actually come through a family friend, a pastor, their seed salesperson, their banker, somebody like that will let us know, and then we can reach out to those folks, offer our help, so that they know it's okay to accept the help, and that we're just trying to pitch in with the rest of the community and make sure they get through that tough time. The idea being is to keep that family legacy alive, so they can indeed make a succession plan and pass the farm. Last thing we want them to do is to lose their business because they are struggling with some mental or health or injury issue, or trying to recover from some type of a natural disaster, a tornado or a flood or something like that, and not being able to get their crop in or out, or not being able to properly heal or recover because they're trying to focus on the work when they really should be focusing on their family or some other aspect of the business. And so we just want to take that burden off of them. And our volunteers are awesome. They're very empathetic. They're highly trained. We can get that crop put in or taken out, or take care of that livestock as well as they can. And so they don't have to worry about, oh gosh, is my crop going to be planted properly or harvested properly, or are the livestock going to be fed properly? So they can know that we have well-trained volunteers. We have over 600 in our database coming from all over the United States. So we have plenty of help. We have a great line of machinery, most of which is rented or leased. We do own some of it as well. And we can use the family's equipment if that's necessary. If they've got safe equipment that our volunteers can operate, we can easily use their equipment to get the job done. So I don't want to talk too long or give too much information here all at once, but as far as getting a hold of us, it's a very simple process to refer, or for a family to apply. They can go to farmrescue.org. There's a simple form there that can be filled out, and then one of our volunteer coordinators or operation folks will reach out make sure they have all their questions answered, that they have a cropping plan put together or a choring plan, whatever it is, so that we can activate our volunteers and equipment and get their needs looked after. My email address is terry@farmrescue.org. So if you want to send me a question or a referral, or have me come talk to a group of folks that you know about farm rescue, we like to do all those things. And my cell phone number is 515-601-2891. You're welcome to text, call, whatever, to get a hold of me. So, and maybe Wendy or Karen would know if there's something I missed, or a question that folks would like to ask. We have a very robust social media presence, so please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. We have a great YouTube channel with lots of video testimonials with and about the families that we've helped over the years. We're proud to say we've helped 1,000 families since our founding in 2006. In fact, we helped our 1,000th family this last summer down in Southern Illinois with their winter wheat harvest. So with that, I'll stop talking and see if anybody has any questions.
All right. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. We're happy to take those questions. Terry, I think this is a really great example of what we're trying to do with Farm Neighbors Care. It's just neighbors helping neighbors. And I think Farm Rescue is definitely the epitome of that. When someone is in need, might have a crisis, we're there to help. And so we're excited to have that come to Wisconsin for those families who will really need that and they may not know that now, but down the road they may need that. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It doesn't look like there's any questions in the chat. Don't be shy. Please feel free to put them in the chat, raise your hand. But we will transition now to Bailey Corwine. Bailey is from the American Farm Bureau. I've had the pleasure of working with her on the Farm State of Mind. And so I will let Bailey take it away.
Thanks so much, Wendy. So as she said, I'm Bailey Corwine. I'm the Media Relations Specialist at the American Farm Bureau Federation. And I'm also the co-lead on our Farm State of Mind campaign, which is centered around farmer and rural mental health. I saw Karen had a question in the chat for Terry. So before I get in, Terry, do you want to go back to you for a second?
Terry, it's how do you sign up to volunteer for Farm Rescue? That's a great question.
That is a great question. Thank you. And I always miss something, and that is one that I missed. So yes, you can go to our website also, farmrescue.org, not only to refer a family or apply for help yourself, but also sign up as a volunteer. You can just answer a few simple questions around what your skill sets are, what your comfort levels are, how much time you would like to give geographically, where you would like to help, if you would like to stay in the state of Wisconsin, that's awesome, or if you would like to help our farm families up in the Dakotas or down in Kansas or out in Nebraska, wherever, we're always happy to do that. And also you can go there to donate or to look up other information, I guess, that we have there.
Okay, cool. One note about Farm Rescue, we have someone on staff at AFBF who has used Farm Rescue. His family lives in the Dakotas, and they were hit with 2 cancer diagnoses within like 2 or 3 months of each other. And Barrett raves about your organization, and he says that you literally saved his family. So I'm a big fan of Farm Rescue as well. Glad to be on this webinar with you.
Awesome.
But back to Farm State of Mind and my kind of introduction. So as I said, I'm the media relations specialist and the co-lead for the Farm State of Mind project. But before I moved to DC to work for the American Farm Bureau Federation, I was a farm kid from Eastern Kansas. My family raises corn, wheat, and soybeans, and we run about 100 head of commercial cattle. And then in 2020, we started raising show steers as well. So one day I will return back to the farm, but for now I'm here in DC. And the Farm State of Mind initiative is my favorite thing that I work on. So I just want to really quickly run through our Farm State of Mind website. And I'm not going to share my screen or anything, but I will post the link in the chat. If you'd like to scroll through the website with me as we're walking through this, please feel free. So when you go to the Farm State of Mind website, the first thing you will see is our national resource directory. This resource directory features hundreds of mental health resources, state by state, national, regional. And the cool thing about it is that it is searchable. So when you scroll through the directory, you'll see a search bar there, and then you'll also see some drop-down menus. So if you have a topic that you know you want to search for, let's say like addiction, you can type that into the search and see what comes up for addiction. Or let's say you want to look at things that are only in Wisconsin. So you can use the drop-down menu there to select Wisconsin and see what is available to you. That resource, the directory, is a live resource. It is updated weekly, sometimes daily, with whatever information we gather from our states. So if you have a resource that you would like to add to the directory, I'll drop my email in the chat here at the end. Feel free to send it my way. Or if you are looking for a resource, the directory is a great place to start. Then the next thing that you will come across on our website are some warning signs. So if you are someone who goes out on farm and interacts with farmers, or maybe farmers come into your office on a regular basis, and you've noticed some changes in the farmer that you're dealing with, these are some of the kind of initial warning signs to look for to know that someone is struggling with their mental health. So it serves as a great starting point. Next is our Farm State of Mind flagship video. It features one of our farmer members from Illinois, Adrienne DeSutter, and kind of Adrienne talking about her experience when their community was rocked by a suicide and how their family dealt with that personally. The flagship video is great to share at Farm Bureau events, like maybe your county annual meeting or your young farmer and rancher meeting. It's a very surface level look at mental health. So if you've never done anything with mental health in your county or your community, it's a great way to jump into that discussion and expose your members or your fellow farmers to what the Farm State of Mind campaign is about. Next, as you're scrolling through the Farm State of Mind resource, Farm State of Mind webpage, you will see a video from the Ad Council. Now, you may be familiar with the Ad Council because of their radio and TV PSAs, but we actually were fortunate enough to work with them at Farm Bureau on a rural mental health campaign. And the video that's on our website features a Florida Farm Bureau member, Marshall Sewell. Marshall unfortunately lost his father to suicide when he was in high school. And in the PSA you see on our video, Marshall talks about how that experience kind of changed his perspective on mental health, and how we as farmers have to look out for each other and remember that it's okay to not be okay, and that reaching out is actually a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. So that's a really great video. That's another one that you can play at your meetings, just kind of in the background as people are getting seated for a dinner, or as you're transitioning from one speaker to another in a workshop session or something like that. And then the next thing that you will see as you scroll through is our newest resource, and one that we're probably the most excited about right now. That is Togetherall. It is a peer-to-peer support network that is online and completely anonymous. It's free and it is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So Togetherall, I describe it as like a social media, but for mental health. It's kind of like logging into Facebook, except you're 100% anonymous, and you can log on and vent. Let's say you're having a rough day on the farm and you just need to get it all out there. You can log on, type out your feelings, post it, and no one will ever know that it's you. Similarly, you can read through posts of other people who may be going through similar things and offer them messages of support. And as I travel through the country kind of talking about this new resource, I like to tell people that I use it, and some of the most meaningful experiences I've had on Togetherall are actually just when I can go in and offer someone some words of encouragement. That's almost more helpful to me than being able to post my own feelings out there on my own post. So it's an incredible resource. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to register for a webinar that's taking place on May 21st. If you would like to learn more about Togetherall, I don't want to spend all of our time today talking about Togetherall, though I absolutely could. So this webinar is an outstanding opportunity to learn more about Togetherall. So there is that there. And then accessible through Togetherall is something called Personal Assistance Services, or PASS. And that is well-being and life support services that are offered by folks who are familiar with agriculture. It sounds like you have some great programs in Wisconsin that already allow you to do this, but maybe you have a family member in a different state who isn't able to access the outstanding resources in Wisconsin. PASS is a great option for personal counseling, things like farm transition planning, marital counseling, family issues counseling. It's a great resource as well. And then as you're scrolling through our website, you'll get to our morning consult research, which Karen referenced quite a bit. So this going back to 2018 or 2019, excuse me, we have several studies that we have worked with the leading public opinion service Morning Consult to carry out among rural communities to talk about stigma surrounding mental health, access to resources and services. And then we, in 2022, did one specific to opioid misuse. So those are really great resources that you can use to approach outside organizations if you are looking for funding or to start a program or something in your community. That resource is phenomenal in terms of talking about the problem of rural mental health. And then the last resource that I am going to talk about today is one that I want to focus in on for this audience, and that's our rural resilience training. So rural resilience training is an online training module that's broken up into 3 sessions, and it takes about 3 hours to complete if you did the whole thing. And it is really intended for individuals who interact with farmers and ranchers. It helps those individuals understand the sources of stress, identify communication strategies for talking to farmers about the issue, reduce stigma related to mental health, and then learn the warning signs of stress and suicide. So if you are an extension agent or an insurance agent, like I know we have a few of on this call, or if you're a veterinarian and you are going on farm and talking to farmers about difficult things such as financial records, animal health, this training will really give you the tools that you need to have those difficult conversations, and then will help you transition to providing resources for farmers who may be struggling. So the rural resilience training, like I said, if you do the whole thing in one sitting, takes about 3 hours, but you don't have to do the whole thing in one sitting. You can do 30 minutes here or there in the evening or something like that, and will really set you up for success for the long term. So all of those resources are available at farmstateofmind.org or fb.org/farmstateofmind. And I'll put that in the chat as well. I'm happy to answer any questions. And there's a siren going by outside my window right now, which always seems to happen to me. But I am also available via email at any time, and I'll put that email in the chat as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Bailey. Any questions for Bailey? I have to say that in 2020, I had the opportunity to participate in the rural resiliency training, some of it online, and then we did have an in-person component at that time. And that's where Farm Neighbors Care started for Wisconsin Farm Bureau, is following that rural resiliency training and just knowing that our members and people within our communities were struggling and that we really needed resources and share those resources with those who may need them. So if you do have the opportunity, I would highly encourage you to check that out and just help you understand, identify what some of those warning signs might be and how you might be able to start the conversation with someone about potentially getting some assistance. So thank you for sharing that, Bailey.
And the resilience training is completely free. I don't know if I
Yeah.
said that, but I want to just clarify again if I didn't say it before. It's 100% free, no cost.
Absolutely. All right. Are there any other questions? Amy, I did send you a personal message, but we would love to maybe get you in touch with Karen and maybe someone from the Farm Center on your situation with farm transition. If you can either send me an email or reply just in a personal chat, that would be great. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions, information that anyone wants to share, whether from the participants or the speakers today? Seeing none. All right. Well, we are going to wrap up. I want to thank Karen, Terry, and Bailey for joining us and sharing the resources that are available throughout Wisconsin and the United States when it comes to farmer wellness resources. I also want to provide a challenge to all of you while mental health is an issue that we deal with every single month of the year, but it being May Mental Health Month, try to reach out to a friend or a neighbor, just check in on them and shed some light on them. Maybe it is a call, a card, a text, or even a treat that you might take to them. So I challenge all of you to do that. I will follow up with an email with all of the resources that were shared, some of the contact information if you have further questions for anyone. And then last but not least, join us next month for our Lunch and Learn, which will focus on policy development. So another fun and exciting topic. But thank you all for joining us. If you are a farmer and will be planting, I'm assuming most farmers are out in the fields today, but best of luck to you during this planting season. And thank you for joining us.